Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Baron here, and I will be covering the new American jet, the F-80C Shooting Star. Now this is the new American Tier 18 jet fighter being shown off here in the patch 1.33 dev server. And here is a look at its canopy, the cockpit, and I want you to make note of the Shooting Star's straight wings, as that will become relevant in the showcase a little later. Now the Shooting Star set a number of firsts for American jet aircraft and American aviation. It was the first American aircraft to exceed 500 miles per hour in a level flight, and it was the first American jet manufactured in large quantities, as well as being the first U.S. Air Force jet seeing combat. Now, the Shooting Star was designed in 1943 and made its maiden flight on January 8, 1944, all while World War II was going on. During this time, 4 aircraft were sent to Europe for the hopes of testing and later potentially to see these aircraft in combat, but the war in Europe ended before the aircraft could see combat. The aircraft were initially designated P-80s, with the P standing for pursuit, but later changed to F-80 in 1948, with the F standing for fighter, as the intended use of this aircraft changed from being a high-altitude interceptor to later an air superiority fighter. Now, this aircraft was used in a variety of roles during the Korean War, initially as a day fighter and photo reconnaissance aircraft, and later as a fighter bomber, once the F-80C Sabre appeared on the scene and became the United States' premier jet fighter during that war. And this relegated the F-80 to ground attack and light bombing duties, and later exclusively to photo reconnaissance as the Korean War came to a close. Now, while the Sabre seems to have stolen the show during the Korean War, the F-80C participated in the first all-jet fighter air battle, and a Shooting Star piloted by First Lieutenant Russell J. Brown shot down a Russian-built MiG-15, though this claim is contested by the Russians. Now, while the F-80C Shooting Star is a formidable aircraft and currently the first American jet aircraft available to the American players in War Thunder at Tier 18, both historically and in-game, this plane is inferior and outclassed to both the F-86 Sabre and the MiG-15, and that should be expected given it's Tier 18 and those two aircraft are Tier 20. But this is mainly the inferiority of this aircraft is mainly due to the arrangement of the fighter's wings. Both the MiG-15 and the F-86 Sabre have swept-back wings, while the F-80C has straight wings. Now, since the Shooting Star was developed in 1943, it was developed prior to the Americans' discovery of German swept-wing research data showing that greater speeds could be attained and were possible with the implementation of swept wings on aircraft, as opposed to the straight wings that were conventional at the time and were used here in the F-80C. Now, while the F-80C has a max speed of somewhere around like 600 miles per hour, and the MiG-15 was capable of speeds in excess of 650 miles per hour, and their cruising speeds were greatly different, with the MiG-15 being far superior. Now, despite the inferiority of the Shooting Star to the MiG-15, a reported 6 MiG-15s were shot down by Shooting Stars during the Korean War. Now, as you can see in this gameplay, one of the problems I'm having, and you can see at the score in the end, is this aircraft is armed with 50 caliber machine guns, and here I am trying to intercept this IL-4 bomber. But it's hard to, given your speed, you're going up against a lot slower and relatively more maneuverable aircraft, including that IL-4. So a lot of what I'm doing is essentially boom and zooming with these Shooting Star, but one of the main issues is the armament doesn't allow you to really as effectively, maybe, boom and zoom. Now, you have to keep in mind this is the dev server, so the matchmaking is not that well balanced, as it kind of puts everyone from many diverse tiers into the battle at a time. So while I should expect to go against a lot of jet aircraft, you know, say in a Tier 18 historical battle and even in arcade battles, where jet aircraft are a lot more fragile. So this 50 caliber would be decent at downing jet fighters and even jet bombers. I'm going up against some rather beefy, conventionally prop-driven aircraft, such as that IL-4, if I could have hit it. But so 50 cal, you have very limited time on target, given the differential between my speed and the enemy aircraft speed is so divergent. I'm going very fast, he's going very slow. I only have a couple moments to hit when you're boom and zooming, because jet fighters are not turning aircraft. You will boom and zoom, you will kind of hit and run, especially against slow aircraft. Now here's a good case of me landing 50 cals from the new M3 50 caliber machine gun as opposed to the old M2, which has a higher rate of fire, which is good. So you have to keep that in mind. Yes, I am 50 caliber armed, but I have a higher rate of fire than most previous aircraft that are armed with the M2. So higher rate of fire is good, though 50 caliber armament is only really good on light targets, which you can see right there was that I-15, but I could expect decent results against jet fighters. Now, this aircraft just looks pretty cool, and it was a lot of fun flying it. And even though, like, you know, it was kind of frustrating landing hits on an enemy aircraft and then having to just circle around and rarely, look at that little collision right there. Dev server. But I got an assist, and I'm not sure if it was the one I hit with my wing, but probably the one that I shot down. So basically what I'm doing is just hugging the dirt. There was a MiG-15 in this game. I think at any one point there was only maybe 1 or 2 enemy jets, and I have a MiG-15 on my side as well, as you can see right there flying above. So it's me pretty much just getting really close to the scenery, dodging some trees, and then trying to land some parting blows on an enemy aircraft and then flying away. Lit him on fire. You know, but this is arcade. In historical, where that probably would have been a kill. In arcade, you can't just light them on fire and let them go. You're going to have to put them in the ground. So this isn't really your conventional shooting star fight that you'd have. It'd mostly be you fighting other jets and high tier prop driven aircraft. But it was a lot of fun, and here I decided to start chasing that MiG-15 because I realized he is the top dog. And it looked like I got some little flashes on that I-153, but I didn't get any hit registrations. And I'm not really sure what that's about. Does that mean, like, visually you hit the thing, but you don't get any hit confirmations? Not really sure what that's about. Very difficult to, if you're coming up against the jet, this kind of could bring up a good discussion when you're fighting higher tier jets. If that ends up happening to you in historical or even in arcade, the first skill you're going to want to have is situational awareness. Keep an eye and have a general idea of where all those jets are. Look at your minimap. If you see red dots coming on you, obviously check them. And if it's a jet, once you're about 2 kilometers away, maybe, because some of these jets will start sniping you from distance, what I recommend is just turn. Maybe do a split S under them, depending on your altitude. Just turn. Jets have a very hard time turning, and if they slow down to turn, you know, if they pop air brakes, lower throttle, and then try to turn with you, they are going to die relatively quickly. With jet fighting, speed is your life. Once you lose your speed, you're gonna die. Poor yak. Another issue with the dev server, and this isn't anything intentional. The dev server is intended primarily to show you new stuff, but a side effect of the decreased numbers that get on it is that you just have some games you'll have a team loaded with jets, or, you know, me in this awesome shooting star boom and zooming with my beastly 50 caliber machine guns on rather beefy and well armored, like that Corsair, for example. But it's just tricky. Like, one team will just dominate the other one, just absolutely dominate, and that's a result of matchmaking. But dev server's there to show off new planes, and so far it seems the dev server has been open 3 days, almost in a row. So that's pretty cool. And a lot of people ask, you know, when will the new patch come into play? When will we get to try out these new aircraft? When we get to buy them, etc., etc. And you can pretty much, as it's been in the past, it's usually a couple weeks to maybe even a month, or even 2. Once the first dev server availability comes on, and when you can expect a patch. So it's not going to come out tomorrow, although it could, but you can pretty much expect it not to come out for a little bit of time. So here, all you're seeing is blue dots on the radar, and you can hear that amazing sounding 45mm cannon on the Yak 9K. That's another aircraft I had a lot of fun, and I actually tested that in historical to see if there was anything different, if there were any coolant leaks or any damage you could do at sustained fire of that 45. And I didn't experience any. And this little strafing on that medium tank is in homage to the Shooting Star's role as a fighter bomber during the Korean War. So now we're going to take a look at the score screen. And here you can see that I had 4 assists, and that's just a result of me not being able to put the enemy aircraft in the ground. But with jets, they're more fragile. Only a few hits are needed to down most jet aircraft. So I'm Baron. I hope you liked the F-80C Shooting Star. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Baron here, and I will be showing off the F-8F Bearcat in historical battles. And as you can see here, I am packing the heavy rockets, the Tiny Tims, which are air-to-ground rockets. And they are big boys. Also, another interesting fact about this Bearcat is that it is armed with 20mm cannons, and here I'm flying with NTAC, so let's get into it.